Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Creating from the Heart. I'm Umashree Taparia, the artist behind this account, and today we are going to be painting this beautiful landscape. So I have my paper which is the Saunders Waterford 300 GSM 100% cotton paper, and I'm using this Art Philosophy Code, the classic palette of 12 shades. I love the beautiful shades in this one, perfect to paint in any kind of landscapes. I'm going to begin in with the wet on wet for the sky first. I've just given a small pencil outline for the mountain at the base, not going in with much of the pencil sketch, just a basic outline. After adding in a layer of water into the entire sky, I'm going to dive into the colors. I'm going with a beautiful sunset view, so I'm going to be using in the shades of purple, orange, red, pink, all of these tones to put into the sky and blend them all together. First, making sure that my paper is wet perfectly on all the sides. So first I'm beginning in with the purple color from this set. It's a beautiful bright purple color, not too dark, not too light. So I'll build this shade up for darker tones with the help of Payne's Grey or black, whichever you wish to use in, to create in some darker depths. So I've added a generous layer of the purple at a small space. Now I'm going to pick up the purple in a darker consistency and just adding in a little hint of blue to it to create a little darker bluish violet color. So slowly just begin adding in little tones of blue to create in that bluish violet for the top space, or you could even use Payne's Grey if you directly wish to move on to a darker purple color maybe. Now making sure giving it a variant wash from dark to light towards the center of the sky. Now I'm going to create in a pastel orange color. For that I'm picking up the orange, and to that I'm going to add in a bit of the white gouache to create in a pastel orange. I prefer using white gouache to create in the pastel colors to maintain the opacity of my paints. So just picking up generous amount of orange and then using in white gouache, I'll create a pastel color of it. So using this mix of the orange and the white gouache, adding it closer to the violet very carefully so that we do not blend the violet and the orange together. Otherwise it may give in muddy tones. Next I'm going to add in the Naples yellow color. You can pick up yellow and mix in white gouache to get the Naples yellow. I'm picking up a direct Naples yellow mix since I have a little of the color on my palette already. So just adding in the Naples yellow at the bottom in the rest of the space of the sky. You see the Naples yellow and the pastel orange are almost similar to each other, but still that one tone difference makes a lot of difference there. Now using in the orange from this palette, I'm going to go ahead and add in the details and create in the depth step by step. Along with that, I'm going to keep on mixing the blue and the violet from this palette and keep on adding darker depths at the top. I'm working wet on wet still to build in the depth and details. The pink from this palette is a beautiful pink, like an opera pink. This is kind of a little neon touch to it. You can see the swatch card at the top out there. It's such a beautiful pink after it dries out. So adding it between the orange and the violet so that the blends between the orange and the violet go in smooth. Picking up this reddish orange color from this set, adding in little strokes at the top. I'm still working wet on wet using in a smaller size brush, adding in the cloud details, and I'll go ahead and keep doing so with different tones of orange, yellow, red and pink. So you can keep on varying the tones, you can create darker and lighter consistencies, but you need to make sure that your paper does not dry out anywhere in between. So you need to maintain the wetness of the paper along with it. Now at the bottom of the yellow, you see how I beautifully added in more of the red tones. Now creating in some red highlights in between as well. And then I'll mix in the violet with the black color, forming in a blackish grayish violet tone for adding in some bold cloud details into the sky. So picking up the violet blue, first I'll go ahead with some darker strokes again at the top. You see how you need to build in layers with so much of blending, plus you need to go layers on layers darkening the colors so that you can build in the depth into your painting. It's very important to understand with watercolors you need to build the layers from light to dark tones, because once you lay the darker tones it will be very difficult to lift it up. Plus with watercolors, because of the transparency of watercolors, you will not be able to redo lighter tones on top of it. So it's always important to begin with lighter colors and keep on building depth with layers using in darker tones. Now going ahead with the black and the violet mix to add in the clouds into the rest of the spaces. Now onto this layer as well, I'm going to go ahead with a little more of the violet color to add in more depth. So you see how even in the clouds I'm going with layers to build in the depth. I'm basically playing along with 5 colors, that's yellow, orange, pink, violet, and a little hint of red and blue. And then I'm using in black or Payne's gray to create in that tonal variation to add in the purple clouds into the sky. My paper is still wet. I'm still doing all of this wet on wet, building in the depth, building in the softness into the cloud. Wherever I feel that the clouds are not blending in softly, using in a damp brush and blending them all in. Now at the top, adding in little more cloud depth. You see at the top how many color variations we've achieved with the purple tones, building in from light to the dark tones. Now adding in some darker orange highlights at the bottom space. We are almost through the sky, just a little more depth, and then we'll move on to building in the layers of the mountains and then add in our final pine trees. Now using in the pink color, adding in some tones from the edges, creating in those cloud strokes. You see the glow in the sky closer to the pink. I'm absolutely loving that. That's the reason I'm not adding in any tones there, letting that sunset glow be there. Now my sky is dry and moving along to the first layer of the mountains. So I'm going ahead with the violet mixed in with the black color and going ahead with a very light layer consistency, because after this dries out, we are going to be adding in another layer in front of it. And into this layer itself, I'm going to create in little of the glowing light effect of the sky. Now I'll just go ahead with a little more darker color first before creating in the highlighting spot. Now from the top, I'm just dropping in little darker hints using in the tip of the brush to create in that perfect outline between the sky and this mountain range. Make sure that your sky is completely dried before you move on to this mountain space. Now just adding in little darker depths at the top and some strokes at the top space majorly, because at the bottom we are still going to be having in another mountain range coming in. Now I've picked up the yellow color and I'm going to drop it here to create in that glow of the sky falling onto the mountain. Same way, I'm going to pick up a little of the pastel orange and drop it closer to the yellow, and then blend it very gently with the violet color, creating in that glowing spot. Now I've added in another layer of the orange color. When you blend orange and violet together, you get muddy tones. So you need to go a little carefully with this space. You can go ahead with the lifting technique to create in the glow if you wish to. Or you can first add in the yellow orange and then move on to the violet onto a blank mountain. So here I've just added the yellow orange and again going with the violet across it to blend in the colors. So I've added in the darker color across the glowing spot that we created, and now I'll quickly go ahead with a little lifting technique and just lift up a little more of the paint there and create the blend perfectly to have in that glowing spot, and let's wait for this range to dry. So first mountain range is dried. I'm going to go ahead with the second mountain here. I'm going ahead with this darker tone mix of the violet and the black color. Make sure you do not use a very dark color because we are still going to be adding in pine trees in front of this. So you need to be sure and careful that this color is still lighter. Into this range also I'm just gently dropping in darker tones, and then once this also dries out completely, I'll go ahead and add in the pine trees. So now both the mountain ranges are dried, and I'm going to quickly go ahead with a lot of pine trees and just going to add in across the entire space. So I'm going to quickly fill in the pine tree spaces and get back to the birds into the sky now. Now into the sky, I have some droplets of the paint while picking up the black color. So at those spots, I'll make sure to cover them up using in the birds. So going ahead with simple bird silhouettes using in the pointed tip brush. I'm using a size 2 round brush which has a very fine pointed tip as you can see, which is helping me add in all of these fine details swiftly, creating in the bird silhouettes. You see how I'm giving in the birds with different flight angles, adding in the depth to each of the birds, keeping it simple yet so detailed. So I'm just adding in this last bird, and now I'm going to add in a moon into the sky. So I've created a glowing spot at the top, to the center of which now I'm just going to add pure white gouache to create in that beautiful glowing moon effect. So that's it. Let's peel off the masking tape, see the final painting. It's such an easy one, but such beautiful results. And the softness of the clouds into the sky is what makes the beauty of this painting. If you enjoyed painting this with me, do not forget to hit the subscribe button so that you get notified as soon as I upload the free tutorials next week. Thank you so much for watching, and if you share it on Instagram, do tag me at the handle creating from the heart, and I'd be glad to see your paintings from this tutorial.